Morgan stood in line with 40 other cadets and tried not to look nervous. The quarterly weapons inspection was something every student at the Galactic Military Academy had to go through. It was supposed to be simple. You walked up to the scanning station, placed your personal sidearm on the platform, waited for the classification reading and moved on. Nothing complicated, nothing scary. But had a feeling in her stomach that would not go away. Station 7 hung in orbit around a gas giant, and through the massive windows of the inspection hall could see the swirling orange and red clouds of the planet below. The station was home to cadets from dozens of species across the confederated worlds. Humanity had only been part of the galactic community for 60 years, and there were still only a handful of human cadets at the academy. Was one of 12. Instructor stood at the scanning station, his 4 arms moving with practiced efficiency as he processed each cadet. He was tall and thin with compound eyes that saw everything. His species had been part of the Confederacy for 3,000 years. They looked at humans the way humans might look at children who had just learned to walk. The line moved forward, watched as a cadet named placed his weapon on the scanner. Was reptilian, with green scales and yellow eyes that always seemed to look down on everyone around him. His plasma pistol glowed faintly blue as the scanner read it. Class 7 Graviton-Enhanced Plasma Sidearm, instructor announced. Registered and approved. Next. Picked up his weapon and walked past. He made sure to brush against her shoulder as he passed, and she heard him make a low sound that his species used to show contempt. Primitives, he muttered, just loud enough for her to hear. Said nothing. She had learned in her first month at the academy that responding to only made things worse. He believed humans were beneath him, and nothing she said would change his mind. Only her actions could do that, and so far she had not found the right moment. The line continued to move. His friend Danny Cole was 3 spots ahead of her. He was from Chicago, with dark skin and a quick smile that made everyone like him. He placed his standard-issue pulse pistol on the scanner and got a Class 4 reading. Normal and boring, exactly what he wanted. Danny caught his eye as he walked past and gave her a small nod. He knew what she was carrying, and he knew she was worried about it. 2 more cadets went through, then it was turn. She stepped up to the scanning station and looked at instructor. His compound eyes reflected her image back at her dozens of times. She wondered what he saw when he looked at her. Probably just another small, soft human with no natural weapons and no real value. Cadet Morgan said, "Present your personal sidearm." Reached into the holster at her hip and pulled out her weapon. It was not a plasma pistol or a graviton gun or a neural disruptor. It was a revolver made of steel, with a wooden grip worn smooth by generations of hands. Her great-great-grandfather had carried it in something called World War II, back on Earth, back before humanity knew they were not alone in the universe. She placed it on the scanner platform. For a moment, nothing happened. The scanner hummed as it tried to process what it was seeing, watched the display screen flicker through readings she did not understand. Then the screen flashed red. Error reprocessing. Instructor leaned closer, all 4 of his arms going still. The cadets behind began to whisper. The screen flashed again. Unclassified Apex. The words hung there in bright red letters and felt the entire room go silent. She did not know what those words meant, but she knew from the way instructor stepped back from the scanner that they were not good. "What is this weapon?" demanded. His voice had changed. The board efficiency was gone, replaced by something that sounded almost like fear. "It is a revolver, sir," said. "It fires metal projectiles using a chemical propellant. It belonged to my ancestor." "Metal projectiles," repeated the words as if they were in a language he did not speak. "Chemical propellant." "Yes, sir. It is very old. My family has kept it for over 800 years." Reached out with one of his lower arms and picked up the revolver. He held it away from his body as if it might explode at any moment. "This weapon is being confiscated," he said. "You will report to the commandant immediately." Felt her heart drop. "Sir, I do not understand. It is just an old gun. It is not even as powerful as a plasma pistol." "The scanner says otherwise." Placed the revolver in a containment case and sealed it. "Unclassified Apex is a designation we have not seen in 400 years. The last item to receive this classification was a weapon capable of destroying planets." Could not believe what she was hearing. "That is impossible. It just shoots small pieces of metal." "You will report to the commandant," repeated, "now." 2 security officers appeared at side. They were massive creatures with thick hide and faces that showed no emotion. They did not touch her, but their presence made it clear that she had no choice. As she was escorted out of the inspection hall, saw the other cadets staring at her. The N looked confused. The few humans looked worried. Danny tried to follow, but one of them blocked his path. Danny called out, "I will find out what is happening, just stay calm." Nodded, but she did not feel calm. She felt like she had just made a terrible mistake, even though she did not understand what that mistake was. Behind her she heard's voice, no longer contemptuous but uncertain. What could a human possibly have that would scare the instructor like that? It was a good question, and wished she knew the answer. The commandant's office was at the very top of Station 7, and the walk there felt like the longest of life. The 2 security officers did not speak to her. They simply walked on either side, their heavy footsteps echoing through the polished corridors. Tried to understand what was happening. Her revolver was old. It was simple. It used technology that humanity had developed centuries before they discovered space travel. How could something so primitive be classified as Apex, the same level as planet-destroying weapons? The doors to the commandant's office slid open, and stepped inside. Commandant sat behind a curved desk made of some dark alien wood. She was, with pale blue skin and silver eyes that seemed to look right through. They were one of the founding species of the Confederacy, known for their wisdom and their long lives. Commandant was over 400 years old, and she had seen things that could not imagine. Next to the commandant stood a small, insect-like creature with multiple eyes and delicate arms. This was Archivist Kell, who managed the Academy's classified records. And floating above the desk was a hologram of a human woman in a military uniform. Admiral, the human representative to the Academy. "Cadet Morgan," Commandant said. Her voice was calm but carried the weight of authority. "Please sit." Sat in the chair facing the desk. The containment case holding her revolver sat on the desk between them, its surface glowing faintly with security protocols. "Tell me about this weapon," the commandant said. Took a breath. "It belonged to my great-great-grandfather. He carried it during a war on Earth called World War II. When he came home, he passed it down to his son, and it has been in my family ever since. My father gave it to me before I left for the Academy. He said it represented our family's history of protecting others." The commandant studied her with those silver eyes. "And do you know why our scanner classified it as unclassified Apex?" "No, ma'am. I do not understand at all. It is just an old gun that fires metal bullets. It is not advanced technology." Archivist Kell stepped forward, his multiple eyes blinking in sequence. "Commandant, I have searched our records. When humanity joined the Confederacy 60 years ago, they submitted their advanced weapons for classification. Plasma research, nuclear technology, directed energy prototypes, but they never submitted their primitive projectile weapons." "Why not?" the commandant asked. Admiral's hologram flickered slightly. "Because we did not think they were relevant. Projectile weapons are ancient technology to us. We stopped using them in warfare centuries ago. We assumed they would be meaningless compared to the weapons other species carry." The commandant leaned back in her chair. "That was an oversight." "I do not understand," said. "What is wrong with my revolver?" The commandant opened the containment case and looked at the weapon inside. She did not touch it. "Cadet Morgan, the unclassified Apex designation is reserved for weapons so dangerous that they exist outside our normal classification system. The last item to receive this designation was a singularity bomb, a device capable of collapsing an entire planet into a black hole. Before that, it was a mind plague, a biological weapon that could erase the consciousness of an entire species." Felt her mouth go dry. "But my revolver cannot do anything like that." "No," the commandant agreed. "It cannot destroy planets or erase minds. But our scanner does not classify weapons based on scale alone. It classifies them based on how effectively they can bypass our defenses. And your primitive weapon, Cadet Morgan, can bypass everything we have." Shook her head. "I do not understand." Archivist Kell pulled up a holographic display. "All Confederacy technology evolved to counter energy-based weapons. Our shields stop plasma, graviton beams, and neural pulses. Our armor absorbs and disperses directed energy. Our medical technology is designed to heal burns and radiation damage. But your weapon does not use energy. It uses solid metal projectiles propelled by chemical explosions." Our shields cannot stop solid matter moving at high velocity, the Commandant continued. Our armor is not designed to resist physical penetration. Our medical technology cannot easily treat wounds caused by metal tearing through flesh and bone. Stared at them. Are you saying that my old revolver is more dangerous than a plasma gun? Against our defenses, yes. The Commandant's voice was heavy. Your weapon exists outside everything we have built to protect ourselves. It is, in the most literal sense, unclassified. Admiral spoke up, her hologram flickering with what might have been embarrassment. We did not know. Humanity developed projectile weapons thousands of years before we discovered other species existed. By the time we joined the Confederacy, we had moved on to energy weapons like everyone else. We never thought to mention the old technology. And now we have a problem, the Commandant said. Word of this demonstration is already spreading through the station. The other species are asking questions. Some are afraid. Others are angry that humanity may have been hiding a military advantage. Felt a cold fear settle in her stomach. I was not hiding anything. I just brought my family's gun. I did not know. I believe you, the Commandant said, but belief is not enough. We need to understand exactly what we are dealing with. Tomorrow, we will conduct a full weapons test. You will demonstrate your revolver's capabilities in front of witnesses. And after that, asked. The Commandant looked at her with something that might have been sympathy. After that, Cadet Morgan, we will decide what to do about humanity. Admiral's hologram disappeared without another word, leaving alone with the Commandant and the archivist. Looked at the containment case holding her revolver. Her father had given it to her with such pride. He had told her it represented protection, not destruction. He had told her it meant something good. Now she wondered if it would start a war. The weapons testing range was built deep beneath Station 7, carved into an asteroid that had been attached to the station's lower hull. The facility was designed to withstand Starship-grade weapons, with walls that could absorb the blast of a tactical nuclear device. It was where the Academy tested the most dangerous equipment in the Confederacy. Today it would test its revolver. Stood at the firing line and looked at the crowd that had gathered. There were at least 100 witnesses packed into the observation gallery behind thick, transparent barriers. Cadets, instructors, and even some visiting diplomats had come to see what all the fuss was about. She spotted Danny near the front, his face tight with worry. Behind him, she saw and his friends, their yellow eyes fixed on her with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. Chief Weapons Officer stood beside her. He was, with thick hide and arms like tree trunks. He had tested thousands of weapons in his career, and he looked at his revolver with open skepticism. "This is what caused all the trouble?" he asked, holding up the weapon. "This simple thing?" "Yes, sir," said. Shook his massive head. "I have tested graviton cannons that could crack open a moon. I have tested plasma lances that could cut through a battleship. And now I am supposed to believe that this primitive device is more dangerous than all of them." The scanner said unclassified Apex, reminded him. "Scanners make mistakes," handed her the revolver. "Show me what it can do. Prove that our technology is not as foolish as this situation suggests." Took the weapon and felt its familiar weight in her hand. The wooden grip was smooth against her palm. She had fired this gun many times back on Earth, shooting at targets on her family's farm. It had never felt dangerous to her. It had felt like history, like connection, like home. The testing range stretched out before her. At the far end, a series of targets had been set up. The first was a standard energy absorption barrier, the kind used in personal body armor across the Confederacy. The second was a military-grade shield generator, the same technology that protected starships. The third was a block of composite armor taken from an assault vehicle. "Begin when ready," said. Raised the revolver and aimed at the first target. She took a breath, held it, and squeezed the trigger. The gun kicked in her hand with a sharp crack that echoed through the testing range. The bullet crossed the distance in an instant and hit the energy absorption barrier. It went straight through. The barrier was designed to stop plasma bolts and graviton pulses. It was supposed to absorb energy and disperse it harmlessly. But the bullet was not energy. It was a small piece of metal moving very fast, and the barrier did not know how to stop it. A murmur went through the observation gallery. Adjusted her aim and fired at the shield generator. The blue shimmer of the shield flickered as the bullet approached. It passed through the shield like the shield was not there. The murmur became louder. heard someone in the gallery say a word she did not recognize, but the tone made it sound like a curse. She aimed at the composite armor and fired her third shot. The bullet punched into the armor and kept going, leaving a neat hole in material that was supposed to resist direct hits from starship cannons. Chief Weapons Officer said nothing. He just stared at the targets with his mouth slightly open. "Continue the test," Commandant's voice came over the speakers. "Fire all remaining rounds." Had 6 bullets in the cylinder. She had fired 3. She aimed at a fresh set of targets and fired the remaining 3 shots, one after another. Each bullet went through every defense that the Confederacy had developed over thousands of years. When she was done, she lowered the weapon and waited. The silence in the testing range was absolute. Then Chief Weapons Officer spoke, and his voice was different than before. The skepticism was gone, replaced by something that sounded almost like awe. "The bullets cannot be stopped by personal shields," he said slowly. "They cannot be detected by standard weapon scanners because there is no energy signature to detect. They leave wounds that our medical technology is not designed to treat because we have spent learning to heal energy burns, not physical trauma from metal penetration." He turned to look at the observation gallery, at the dozens of aliens who were staring at with new expressions on their faces. "If humanity had brought these weapons to their first contact with the Confederacy," said, "instead of coming in peace and offering friendship, we would have had no defense. Our shields would have been useless. Our armor would have been useless. Our soldiers would have fallen and we would not have understood why." Commandant's voice came over the speakers again. "Thank you, Chief. That will be enough." But the damage was done. Could see it in the faces of the aliens in the gallery. The looked disturbed. The looked angry. Even who had always looked at humans with contempt now looked at with something else entirely. Fear holstered her revolver and walked toward the exit. As she passed the observation gallery, she heard the whispers following her. "They have been hiding this all along. How do we know they do not have more weapons like this? Can we trust them? Can we ever trust them?" Danny met her at the door, his face pale. "This is bad. The whole station is going to know about this by tonight." "I know," said quietly, "and I do not know how to fix it." Behind her, in the observation gallery, she heard his voice saying something in his own language. She did not understand the words, but she understood the tone. It was the tone of someone who had just realized that the creatures he had looked down on were not as harmless as he had believed. And that terrified him. The Academy Council chamber was a circular room at the heart of Station 7, with seats arranged in rising tiers around a central platform. Representatives from every major species in the Confederacy sat in those seats, and today they were all looking at Morgan with expressions that ranged from suspicion to outright hostility. Stood on the central platform, feeling very small and very alone. Council member spoke first. He was a species known for their paranoia and their long memories. His body was covered in sharp spines, and his voice was like grinding metal. "The humans have been hiding their true military capability," declared. "For 60 years, they have pretended to be weak, pretended to be harmless, while keeping weapons that could destroy us all in secret. I demand that they be expelled from the Confederacy immediately." A murmur of agreement rippled through part of the chamber. Council member raised her hand for silence. She was like Commandant, with the same pale blue skin and silver eyes. But where was a soldier was a philosopher, known for her calm wisdom. "Before we make accusations," said, "perhaps we should understand. Cadet Morgan, why did humanity never tell us about these weapons?" Swallowed hard. "Because we did not think they mattered. Projectile weapons are ancient technology to us. We developed them thousands of years before we knew other species existed. By the time we joined the Confederacy, we had moved on to plasma and energy weapons like everyone else. We kept the old guns as historical artifacts, family heirlooms, tools for hunting and sport. We never imagined they would be significant to anyone." "A convenient excuse," snapped. "You expect us to believe that you accidentally forgot to mention weapons that can bypass all of our defenses." "I expect you to believe the truth," said, and she was surprised by the strength in her own voice. "We did not hide anything. We simply did not know that our old technology would matter to you." She thought of her father then, back on Earth, standing in the kitchen of their farmhouse with the revolver in his hands. She remembered the day he gave it to her, just before she left for the academy. "This belonged to your great-great-grandfather," her father had said. He carried it through a terrible war, but he never used it to hurt anyone who did not deserve it. He used it to protect the people who could not protect themselves. That is what this gun means to our family. It means protection. It means standing up for others. Had taken the revolver with pride. She had never imagined it would cause so much trouble. The question is not whether the humans intended to deceive us, said. The question is what we do now that we know the truth. The answer is obvious, said. We must confiscate all human projectile weapons. We must inspect their colonies. We must ensure they cannot threaten us. And if they refuse, another council member asked. Spines bristled. Then we will know their true intentions. Felt anger rising in her chest. You are talking about treating humanity like criminals because we kept family heirlooms. You are talking about invading our homes and taking our property because we have technology you did not know about. How is that fair? Fair? Turned his sharp eyes on her. You have weapons that could destroy us and you ask about fair. We have had these weapons for centuries, said. Long before we met any of you. If we wanted to use them against you, we would have done it already, but we did not. We came to the Confederacy in peace. We offered friendship. We shared our technology and our culture. We asked only to be accepted as equals. The chamber went quiet. Continued, her voice steady despite the fear in her heart. My father told me that this gun represents protection, not destruction. He told me that our family has always used it to defend people who cannot defend themselves. That is what humanity does. We protect. We do not conquer. Council member leaned forward. Words are easy, Cadet Morgan. How can we know that your species truly means what you say? You cannot know from words, admitted. You can only know from actions. Let us prove ourselves. Give us the chance to show you who we really are. Commandant stood up from her seat. I have a proposal. Rather than punishing humanity for a misunderstanding, let us use this as an opportunity. Let the human cadets at this academy demonstrate their character through their service. Let their actions speak for them. Made a sound of disgust, and if their actions prove hostile, then we will respond accordingly, said. But I have watched the human cadets for years. I have seen them work alongside other species with dedication and honor. I do not believe they are a threat. I believe they are allies we have not yet learned to trust. The council debated for another hour, stood on the platform and listened to arguments for and against humanity, for and against her personally. It was exhausting and frightening, and she wanted nothing more than to go home. Finally, a vote was called. The result was close, but Commandant's proposal passed by a narrow margin. Humanity would not be expelled. Human cadets would be allowed to remain at the academy, but they would be watched, and any sign of hostile intent would be met with immediate action. As left the chamber, she felt relief mixed with anger. She had been put on trial for carrying her family's gun. She had been treated like a criminal for something her ancestors had built long before anyone knew aliens existed. But she had also been given a chance to prove herself, and she would take that chance. She would show them what humanity really was. The attack came 3 weeks after the council meeting, in the middle of the night cycle when most of the station was asleep. Was in her quarters when the alarm started screaming. Red lights flashed in the corridors, and the voice of the station's computer announced that hostile ships had dropped out of hyperspace and were approaching. She grabbed her uniform and ran. The corridors were chaos. Cadets and instructors rushed in every direction, some heading for shelter and others heading for battle stations. Found Danny at the intersection near the training hall, his face grim. Pirates, Danny said. A whole fleet of them, the Syndicate. They have been raiding stations across this sector for months. How did they get past the defense grid? Asked. They did not. They came in so fast and so hard that the grid did not have time to stop them. They are already boarding. Heard weapons fire somewhere in the distance. Plasma bolts and graviton pulses, the sound she had learned to recognize during her training, but she also heard screams. The younger cadets said, the first years, they are in the dormitory wing. Danny's face went pale. That is right next to the docking bay where the pirates are breaching. Did not hesitate. She started running toward the dormitory wing, and Danny ran beside her. They found Lieutenant Mills at the entrance to the training armory. She was a human instructor, one of the few at the academy, and she had a pulse rifle in her hands, but her expression was worried. The pirates have military-grade shields, Mills said. Our weapons are barely slowing them down. They have modified their equipment specifically to resist Confederacy technology. Then we need different technology, said. Mills looked at her for a long moment. Then she nodded and opened the armory door. Inside, among the plasma weapons and graviton guns, there was a small cabinet in the corner. Mills unlocked it and revealed a collection of human projectile weapons that had been kept for historical study. Rifles, pistols, and ammunition that had not been fired in decades. I cannot officially authorize this, Mills said, but I also cannot stop you. Grabbed a rifle and filled her pockets with ammunition. Danny did the same. They looked at each other, two young humans about to face a pirate army with weapons that everyone had called primitive just a few weeks ago. Let us go protect some people, said. They moved through the station toward the dormitory wing. Along the way, they found other human cadets and armed them. By the time they reached the dormitory, there were 8 of them, all carrying projectile weapons. The pirates had already breached the dormitory entrance. They were massive creatures with thick hide and heavy armor. Their shields shimmered blue as they advanced down the corridor, shrugging off plasma fire from the Academy security forces. The first-year cadets were trapped behind them, huddled in a common room with nowhere to run. Raised her rifle and fired. The bullet punched through the lead pirate's shield like it was not there. It hit his armor and kept going, and the pirate stumbled and fell. The other pirates turned, confused. They had never seen a weapon like this. They did not understand why their shields had failed. Fired again and again. The human cadets spread out and opened fire. Their bullets did what plasma and graviton pulses could not. They bypassed shields. They penetrated armor. They brought down pirates who had expected to face helpless victims. The pirates tried to fall back, but the humans pressed forward. Danny took down 2 of them with precise shots. A cadet named Amy Clark covered the left flank. Another cadet named Bell secured the right. And then saw him. Himself, the pirate leader, a massive with scars covering his face and a personal shield generator that glowed bright gold. He was supposed to be untouchable. His shield was rated to withstand direct hits from starship weapons. He looked at with contempt. You think your primitive weapons can hurt me? Raised her revolver, the same revolver that had started all of this, the same revolver that had belonged to her great-great-grandfather. She fired. The bullet went through his shield without slowing down. It hit his shoulder and spun him around, and for the first time, felt pain from a weapon that should not have been able to touch him. He screamed and called for retreat. His pirates scrambled back toward their ships, dragging their wounded leader with them. The Confederacy Defense Forces, finally organized, pressed the attack and drove them off the station. Within an hour, the battle was over. The Syndicate fled into hyperspace, and Station 7 was secure. Stood in the dormitory common room, surrounded by first-year cadets who looked at her with wide eyes. Some were species she did not even recognize, but they all looked at her the same way. Like she was a hero. Commandant found her there an hour later. The silver eyes were warm as she approached. You saved many lives tonight, Cadet Morgan. We all did, said all the human cadets. Nodded. The Council will be reconsidering their position on humanity. I suspect the outcome will be very different this time. She was right. A week later, the Council officially classified human projectile weapons as Apex Tier, but did not restrict them. Instead, they asked humanity to begin training other species in their use. If pirates and enemies could modify their shields to resist Confederacy weapons, then the Confederacy needed weapons that could not be resisted. They needed humans. Was standing in the training range when approached her. This yellow eyes were different now. The contempt was gone. I want to learn, said. Will you teach me? Looked at him for a long moment. Then she smiled and held out her revolver. This is how you hold it, she said. Keep your grip firm but not too tight. Breathe out before you squeeze the trigger. Took the weapon carefully, as if it were something precious, and in a way it was. It was a piece of human history, a reminder of where humanity had come from and who they had become, a symbol of protection, not destruction. Just like his father had always said. And now she was passing that knowledge on to others, building bridges between species, proving that humanity's greatest weapon was not their technology. It was their willingness to stand up for people who could not stand up for themselves.